The last time the 76ers were in the win column was on January 4th in a 2-point win over Dallas, but thanks to a career night from Quentin Grimes, the Sixers snapped their 9-game losing streak with a 126-119 victory over the Golden State Warriors. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365. Listen, it's never ordinary with the Philadelphia 76ers. They get a win, but it's just, I can't believe that they won, even though we said that they would. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. It was almost nearly a month since they won a basketball game, but they got one tonight, and an entertaining one overall as we sit here with you tonight. Rich Hoffman, Devon Givens, Bree producing here. All of you in the chat already active. And man, Rich, as we laid this one out and said the Sixers could very well win this basketball game for the reasons that we did. No Jimmy Butler and the team around Steph Curry, Draymond Green, not all that good. Didn't expect it to be this storyline with a career night. It's one thing for Quentin Grimes to go for 30. We've seen that already. But for him to go for 44, should have had at least 46, 47 after the 4 free throws that he missed, or no, 7 free throws that he missed, 6 free throws that he missed on the night. But he was phenomenal tonight, man, and carrying this basketball team, picking up the offensive slack as Tyrese Maxey and Paul George, at least for George, struggling through the first 3 quarters, but Maxey finishing with just 5 points, did have double-digit assists. Paul George picked up the scoring load late, hit a couple of big shots, but man, Quentin Grimes was really, really good. This is one of the reasons why, even with the early returns, the 30-plus point game against Brooklyn before the All-Star break, some of the other things that he has done before tonight, but when he snaps and goes off like this one, this is a big reason why, not just us, but a lot of the Sixer fans were saying, hey man, they need to keep this guy as part of their future.
You know, Devon, I thought tonight was pretty clear in that the Warriors, out of their all-star great guard, got a spectacular game. Sixers did not get as good of a game. I think that hand is really bothering Tyrese Maxey. He just has very little touch right now, both on jumpers, on floaters, all of those things, which means he's not Tyrese Maxey right now. Mm-hmm. But I really thought from 2 to 15, 2 to 15, 2 to 10, whatever it was, the rest of the guys that played, I thought the Sixers thoroughly outplayed the Warriors tonight. And that starts, of course, with Quentin Grimes. Great game from him, man. It was, you're right. I mean, the free throw shooting was pretty funny. The guy was absolutely on fire.
Couldn't all be perfect, right?
No, and he was far from perfect. And Joel Embiid was giving him a little crap after the game. When he was pouring water on him.
Because he said he couldn't get 50?
Couldn't make his free throws.
Yeah.
Which is a feeling that I think has never happened to Joel when he's on fire and he can't make a free throw. I don't think that's ever happened to him. He's a fun player when he gets going, man. I would say a couple things on Grimes. Got a bunch in transition tonight. And a lot of this game was the Warriors crashing the offensive glass really hard. And they ended up with a huge number against the Sixers. They got a ton of offensive boards, but whenever the Sixers were able to secure that defensive rebound, it was turning into a fast break on the other end. Quentin Grimes, a lot of buckets on the other end. He screwed up a couple of them too. It wasn't like the Sixers took advantage of all of their 2-on-1, 3-on-1 opportunities, but he got a bunch. You know, I'm thinking of that sidestep he had on Podziemski. I think that's how you say it. Podziemski?
Pods. We're just Pods.
Yeah, I can just say Pods. I can just say Pods. I'm cool with them. All right, Pods. Sidestep on Pods for the N1. He had a couple nice drives against Quentin Post, who is, a good shooter, but not much of a rim protector at all. And it felt like, I'm looking at the final box score for Grimes tonight, Devon. He shoots 12 of 15 on twos. He actually missed the reverse layup at the end. 12 of 15 on twos. That is really hard to do. It was not just a pretty jump shot tonight. And obviously, we were saying it in his first couple games here where when he shoots that three, like he gets good elevation, he's straight up and down. Like it's good form on that jump shot. But tonight, he was able to use that behind the back dribble and some of those crossovers to create space. And because the Warriors, I don't think have like great rim protection on that team right now. Draymond's not the rim protector he used to be. Felt like Quentin Grimes got a lot of buckets, like contested at the rim, still able to finish over them. Anyway, he was spectacular, guys. Like, that was an extremely impressive performance. You just didn't think it would be Grimes would be the guard that would be dueling with Steph Curry. But, man, they gave him the ball on that possession at the end of the game, right? When Draymond fouls him, Devon, the Sixers said, all right, Quentin Grimes, you are going to be the one that's going to get us the shot. Like, we are giving you the ball. You're going to make the decision. He goes one-on-one against Draymond Green, who gives him way too much space. And then Draymond completely runs him over. I have no idea why they challenged that. I guess they thought, it's like a high leverage call, but that was completely obvious. Like, he ran him over, landing zone, easy call. And by the way, Devon, the Warriors really could have used that challenge on that next possession. That ball was clearly off Paul George on the offensive rebound. I'm kind of going all over the place right now, but I just would say
to it. Yeah.
I would just say Quentin Grimes, man, hell of a game by that kid.
So yeah, that the missed free throws, the missed reverse layup at the end, that he had that one. That looked like that was going to be an easy finish for him because of the type of night that it was. And look, quite frankly, for an NBA player, like that reverse layup, that's pretty easy, pretty standard for those guys. By the way, Golden State is still missing layups on their end tonight. So just pointing that out right now, even after the game, we just got word that they're still missing layups after all the attempts that they had at the rim.
Couple huge ones down the stretch. And dude, but that's what I'm saying. Like, 2 to 11, however many players played for both teams, the Sixers were so much better because Steph Curry completely changes the geometry of the court. When he's good, he is drawing double teams 35 feet from the hoop, whether that's from the pass or him just running off the screen, puts the fear of God into the opposing defense. It's certainly applied to the Sixers tonight. All the Warriors had to do was make open shots and layups, these other guys. So that's what I mean. Like, Quentin Grimes actually had to work harder for some of his buckets tonight. He did not have that constant advantage that Steph Curry was giving him, but he was awesome and he was so much better. And the Warriors, like you said, Draymond Green and a bunch of their guys just missing layups.
Yeah, and Buddy Hield's no longer good. All right, let's before we get to, just to let you know, we'll speak to Kyle and Derek from the arena a little bit later. We will give our player of the game, shocking who that might be, a little bit later as well.
I think we just talked about him a little bit.
Yes, and we'll get into the super chats here a little bit early too. But first, let's go to your takeaways and get to your takeaways.
I didn't have any tonight, Bree.
You didn't have your takeaways?
I was too enamored with that Quentin Grimes game. Yeah. I'll just do them off the top of my head. Top of my head right now. I thought Quentin Grimes, obviously, that's
number one.
That's got to be number one. Just an amazing game by him. Number two would just be, I kind of mentioned this too. Like, this is not a Sixer-centric takeaway. Steph Curry is just a blast to watch, man.
Still.
Unbelievable.
Still.
Doing it at his age. Even got the dunk when he got ahead of the pack on the fast break. Apparently his first dunk in 5 years. But just so much fun to watch that guy play. Keeps the ball moving. Just feels like he completely lifts up his teammates with how he plays. And on a night where a lot of his teammates were pretty bad, frankly, he lifted them up. Devon, did you see what Steph Curry finished in a 7-point loss? He played
minus?
Talking plus minus, and we've talked about plus
minus. I won't
minus.
Look at it.
So he played 36 minutes of a 7-point loss.
Looking at how, as you pointed out, 2 through 15 was the rest of the night, I would say plus 20, because when he was on the floor, they were getting some really good stuff. Really good stuff.
A little lower than that, but plus 14. And
okay.
So basically, to lose the non-Steph minutes, the 12 minutes by 21 points, like, that's kind of old school Sixers Embiid stuff right there. You could really feel it, man. They really struggled to get open shots. That was a huge part of the game. And the third thing I would say, and this goes along with the rebounding point that I was making, it felt like at the end we were back 3 weeks ago, where no Joel, but before the struggling stretch of these past couple weeks, where it just turned into a shootout at the end. It felt like Sixers weren't getting a lot of stops. They weren't getting a lot of rebounds. But, man, they were spreading the floor. They were making threes. And it was just that Grimes was in Maxey's place because Maxey was so dominant during that stretch when even the games they lost to Boston, to Denver. He was so terrific, and the offense was great. It's just that Grimes was in his role tonight, and it felt like we were back in that stretch. And I will say, like, I know some people are not happy with the loss because of the
win.
Of the win, because they view it as a loss because of the draft pick implications. Completely understand, guys. But I just thought tonight that was like a pretty watchable, fun game.
It was.
For the most part. You
Yeah.
know, like obviously Sixers are flawed. Warriors are plenty flawed too, but when they're getting up and down and Grimes is having that crazy type of game, I had fun watching it. Also, another guy we should shout out, Gershon Yabusele, had his shooting goggles on the night, man.
You're not taking them off. It's going to be like a Rip Hamilton thing going forward, man. The guy could not miss. He knocked down, 5 threes tonight? Yeah. He was pretty good. Good to see him back. I thought he would actually miss a little bit more time because of the eye. When we were at the gala the other night, Derek and I, he had shades on. And sure, guys dress up in shades, even indoors, because that's a fashion statement. But I thought the shades were on simply because of they probably asked him to cover his eyes, and also because his eyes were still maybe a little bit puffy, maybe just a little bit reacting to the light and also. But he was really good, man, scoring 18 off the bench. And again, with Maxey struggling that way, you get the 44 from Quentin Grimes. You needed that production off the bench, and getting that 18 was big from him.
He had a good game. Kelly Oubre, good game.
Yep. Drummond had a double-double for the time that he was in there. So they needed those rebounds for sure. We talk so much about offensive rebounds, for him to get 9 defensive boards, it's not nothing plus the 5 offensive rebounds. So as much as we get on him, for me, he had a decent game for what we've seen from Andre Drummond. He ends up some games with 7 rebounds. He collected 14, and he should have against that front court, against that team. He should have had double-digit rebounds, and he did. So as much as I get on him, I'll give him credit for that. He had some Andre Drummond moments, but he also did have a double-double tonight with 10 and 14 in the win.
Yeah. So, and look, they shot the heck out of it, right? And some of that is Grimes, but,
19 threes, 18 or 19?
Yeah, 19 of 33 from deep.
19 threes. And look,
it's hard to lose when you do that.
It is, especially when they make 12 on their end and Curry hits his few. But, I mean, look, those, like the Pods minutes were bad. Some of the other guys out there, Kevin Knox had to play. His minutes were bad out there with Pods as well. Gary Payton was good off the bench. Yeah, Santos, he was good in his minutes. Kevon Looney did some stuff overall, but Buddy Hield was bad coming off the bench, right? They're just missing threes, driving layups, as we talked about, man. Just so many of those. But you give credit to the Sixers, too, because while they missed them, on the other end, they took advantage of it. And a lot of that was certainly from the Quentin Grimes side for what he was able to do. So just to talk about him, for me, as Rich just laid it out, as not only just to open it up talking about Grimes, but then making that the first point of his 3 takeaways, I look at it with the Quentin Grimes thing. And again, this is not an overreaction of us saying, hey, they don't have a lot of young talent. Number one, you traded for the guy and you did what you did to get him to come back after moving on from Caleb Martin. So you look at him as a central piece going forward as one of your young guys. You're going to have to figure out how much that costs. He's a restricted free agent. Daryl Morey in the front office, or maybe not. We'll get to that a little bit later. They're going to have to figure that part out when it comes to the Grimes money. But the play from the player at that age, you can see why we've talked about him so much being a potential starter next to either Maxey or somebody coming off the bench where he can play with both Maxey and Jarrett McCain when McCain is healthy next season. Because of his defensive ability, which you talked about in the pregame. Who's going to guard Steph Curry to start this game off? Grimes or Oubre? We thought that was going to be the assignment for one of those two. It actually went to Maxey. Okay, didn't work. It's Steph Curry. But maybe because of the offensive load that he wasn't going to carry, they decided, hey, this is something that he could still do. His hand doesn't have anything to do with it.
They mixed it up.
Right, they mixed it up. They got caught on some switches, things of that nature. So all 3 of them saw Steph Curry tonight, or Steph Curry saw all 3 of them tonight defensively. Cool. But this is why we talk about him in the manner that we do. Not that he's going to score 30 like he did against the Nets. He's certainly not going to score 44 like he did against the Golden State Warriors. That's difficult to do. But the ability to score the way that he did, in bunches the way that he did, the quick release in the way that he has. When the trade went down and we talked about it, and I said to people, for those who didn't really know who he was, he's a bit of a supersized. My comp was a bit of a supersize. If you like DeAnthony Melton, you're going to like Quentin Grimes. He's more athletic, a little stronger, shoots better, handles the ball a little bit better. Melton's a better defender.
Yeah.
More team defender, because we all thought that he
Grimes
was more
better at the individual
exactly.
stuff.
He's better at individual stuff. So when you balance it out, you get a little bit of a better DeAnthony Melton and healthy DeAnthony Melton in that case, and Quentin Grimes. So this is a good player. This is a good player, man. And this shows you that even regardless of what happens the rest of the way of how his offensive game will look like, he'll probably average somewhere around 14 and, the rest of the way with what he does. But he's a scorer. He can score. He's a two-way guy that can do a lot of good stuff on the defensive end as well. And it's the shooting. As he said, if you heard him at the end of the broadcast, Rich brought it up, of them making fun of him for not getting 50. They doused him in the water. But he said, I'm waiting for you to get back. So that's always the key, how they look next to him. It's going to be maybe a different version of him when we talk about Embiid, but playing off of him because he'll fit because of the shooting, the cutting to the basket, his ability to take contact and finish at the rim. This is why you like somebody like Quentin Grimes with how you want to see them built the rest of the way. And finally, to play off of what Rich said about the win, they weren't going to go 0-4 the rest of the way.
It felt like it for a minute.
It felt like it.
But
and when we ran down the rest of the schedule for the next 6, we said they'll probably go 2 for 13 or something like that. But and Golden State was one that we thought they would have lost. We also thought Jimmy Butler was going to play.
Sure.
He did not. So they get one. So maybe they're 3 for 14 instead of 2 for 15. During that stretch of 17 games, they weren't going to go 0-4. They were going to win some games, and it's just a matter of them losing organically and then getting some help from some of these other teams. We'll have our tank watch. We'll give you the final scores from some of those others tonight as well. But this was a good win for them. They were going to win one, and it was nice, most importantly, to see him play that way, Quentin Grimes, to get that career high 44 points. Should have had at least 48.
It's one of the worst.
One layup and at least 2 of those free throws.
It's one of the worst situations as a fan, right?
Yeah.
When you're rooting for losses, and you have to root for them as strict as you have to be with the Sixers right now, considering the pick. This isn't like they're one of the worst teams in the league, and it's just do they get the best odds or the second best odds or whatever. No. This is getting your pick next year or handing over, number 8 or number 9 to Oklahoma City. Those are the stakes right now, and it's just a terrible place to be. So I understand why people are frustrated with it, but the reality is they are professional players, and they're going to take pride in playing these games. So there are going to be at least a couple of these the rest of the way. I think that's abundantly clear, and I get it. Like when you're watching the game, you want to see them do well, right? You want to see progress from guys like Grimes, but the bottom line is that you could lose your pick because of wins like this. So I understand it, but you guys got to understand they weren't going to lose out.
They weren't going to go for the rest of the way. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about some more of the players like Yersan Yabusele. Kelly Oubre played well. You got some decent Justin Edwards minutes off the bench as well. Paul George stepped up a little bit late. We'll talk about Tyrese Maxey a little more extensively just because of the injury and how that may play out the rest of the way. So we'll do all of that. Player of the game, talk to the guys from the arena. Sixers snapped their 9-game losing streak with a 126-119 win. 44 snapped tonight. Quentin Grimes to lead the Sixers to the win. We'll get into it all and more when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show that is presented by, you know who, our good friends from Bet365.
And Devon, let's talk about our friends at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. It's almost spring, and that means it is time for you to spring into savings. And if you have financial goals, and this could be anything, but if it's like buying a house or taking that dream vacation or building your emergency funds, that rainy day funds, TrueMark Financial Credit Union, they have the perfect savings account for you. TrueMark Financial offers high-rate certificates and money market accounts to help your money grow faster and work harder for you. So whatever your financial goals are, whatever you are looking to save up for and spend your money on, head over to TrueMark Financial Credit Union. They will take care of you, and visit TrueMark.com for rates to learn more. They are federally insured by the NCUA, and rates are subject to change.
And folks, I let everybody down tonight at the Bet365 app. just because I went with the 6.5 rebounds over for Kelly Oubre at Bet365. Got great odds with Steph Curry to hit 4+ threes, which he did. And that was my fault. Me and Kelly, we apologize. We'll try to do better on Monday when they play and host the Portland Trailblazers. But look, it's always a blast. You get great odds. It's a great experience on the app. They have over 90 million users worldwide with over 780,000 events each year. Early payouts across the NHL and the NBA. Both Philadelphia teams in action tonight. Had we got them right, early payouts in both of those leagues there. Today, Bet365 offers the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports, which they have pioneered. So if you want to get to it, Saturdays, you have the early Saturdays, Bet365 Slam Dunk Saturday, plays qualifying parlay bets totaling $20 or more on games that are played on Saturday, and you get up to $25 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions definitely do apply. All right, so look, open your account, right? Get it going. Sign up now because breaking news, new customers get up $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Win or lose. When you sign up, use code PHLY365. Deposit 10, place a bet for $5, get $150 in bonus bets if your play wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and simply wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's get back to it here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show.
Let me
that
ask
is
you,
presented by Bet365.
My bad, man. Let me ask you about Maxey, right? Because I think it's pretty clear that hand is bothering him. I mean, his shooting the last few games has just been dreadful. I mean, just brutal. Floor game was good. Like, I thought he made some decent passes tonight, and obviously the offense ran really well, so he didn't get kind of in the way of that offense.
Only turned the ball over twice with,
10 assists, right?
And he played almost 40 minutes.
Yeah. So here's a question though. Do you shut him down for a couple weeks here? And I got to be honest, that wouldn't even be a tanking move if he's going to shoot this poorly, right?
Because you're not going to get a 44-point performance from anybody up and down the roster to help get a win like this.
Would you shut him down just to say, like, hey man, like you gotta rest up your hand, like this is not going to benefit you in the long run. And this is tough I don't know.
This is a little bit different from the Embiid situation because when we looked at the Embiid side of things, you could just see clearly that he had nothing. Maxey is still at least a positive because of his assists, because of his ability to still draw attention and get to the rim to try to score, to get some of those layups to go. And the problem is the outside shooting. That's what makes his floor balance overall so dynamic. But if he continues to play like this over the next week, I would probably say to you that yes, I would give it the next week. They have 4 more games coming up this week. So over the next week, if he plays poorly and they lose, Rich, sit him down. There's no point in playing him, and it's not that it's going to damage his finger any further. It's just that he's out there and he's just not looking good. You don't risk anything happening to him in that way. So I would say give it this week, see what the 4 games play out to be, and then I would say I would agree with you because I think it's Portland and Minnesota back-to-back, and I think it's Boston on Thursday that they have, and I don't remember who it is next weekend, next Sunday.
Utah, I think.
Okay, so they have a chance where they can go 2-2, 3-1, 0-4 for the week. Depending on how the week goes, I would say shut him down after seeing what this week looks like.
Well, and maybe he'll just get used to it at some point and he'll start to make some shots. But you're right. It's very different than what Joel was going through. Joel, his issues were his entire game, basically. His movement, he was completely compromised. He was not getting to his spots to affect the game in a positive manner. Maxey, the issue is he's getting to his spots. Like it's not a lower body injury. He's able to continually create space and get open shots. It's just when he has to take that shot, it's not going in all that much. So yeah, I don't think they're going to shut him down. Obviously, he's very competitive, which I love that about him. He's going to want to continue to play. But yeah, it's tough to watch him just because he continues to create decent looks. The ball's just not going in the basket right now, and it seems pretty clear that it's because of the hand issue.
Or creating these looks and he wasn't shooting them.
Yeah, there was a couple. He wasn't that confident.
He
down
just
the
passed
stretch.
them up.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that was the result of, okay, I've struggled the entire game. I just do not have it tonight in terms of my shooting. Let's just give Grimes the chance. He gave it to Paul George too at the end too. Paul George struggled for most of the game, and he made that really difficult shot over Draymond Green. It was it was good.
Yeah, so decent Maxey floor game, poor shooting. Paul George picked it up late. I give it about a week and see how it goes for Tyrese Maxey with how he's too competitive. He's going to fight them tooth and nail to stay on the floor. So that's where I am with him. All right, let's get to some of these super chats because we do have quite a few as we hang out with you here tonight. We have 2 from Super Dope Hip Hop to start things off. What up, Super Dope Hip Hop PG? Since no podcast, 21, 8, and 6, 3 stocks, 46, 50, 83 shooting splits for Paul George since he decided to hang up the microphone.
He had 2 pretty good games. Yeah. I mean, tonight was he took over kind of down the stretch.
Right.
You know, it's funny. I thought Legs did a good job pointing out on the broadcast. Sixers actually missed a couple threes down the stretch where PG was able to get into the paint, just something we have kind of complained about for a lot of the year. And he was able to spray it out to shooters, and they made the extra pass. Big play, and then that very difficult shot. Yeah, maybe giving up podcasting. Maybe it's something we should do to get our
to get
pickup
right.
games better.
Yeah, to get our pickups games right. Yeah, so we can do that. Thanks, Super Dope Hip Hop, for the super chat. Yeah, he's playing better since he decided to hang it up.
SP's in the comments saying, "Bring back the pod." I think SP wants him to lose.
Bring back the pod. I hear you, SP. Nothing wrong with that one to feel that way. Riaz says, "Hey guys, personally enjoyed the win. I know I'm in the minority. Do you think the Sixers realistically have any shot at the play-in since it appears they are trying to win games for whatever reason?" So we do have our Rich always checks the Tankathon thing to see where we are after a game.
I believe Brooklyn has moved ahead of them in the odds.
Bree has, because Brooklyn did lose tonight, Bree has a tank watch that we have going on. So we'll just run them off for you. That Detroit defeated Brooklyn 115-94. Detroit is actually playing really good basketball, so that was going to be a tough one anyway for the Brooklyn Nets. So right now, the Brooklyn Nets, after that one, as Rich said, they have jumped in front of the Sixers after this loss because they had an identical record going into the game. So with this one, you look at where they were and where they are right now in the standings. Philadelphia at 21-38, now 20-39 for the Brooklyn Nets. So they jump right in front of the Philadelphia 76ers. So they have a half game, 21-39 for Brooklyn, pardon me. Sixers have a half game lead on them right now. And then you also had Washington and Charlotte, 2 teams at the very bottom. Doesn't really count, but Washington defeated Charlotte 113-130. And San Antonio defeated Memphis. If we're looking at the league overall, San Antonio picked up their 25th win.
Look, and some of these teams are going to be able to pick up some.
They're going to win games just like the Sixers are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you run it on there?
Noob saying that Quentin Grimes needs to start a podcast too. I love that podcast is now replacing bad basketball, bad unfocused basketball. The whole team needs to do a team-wide podcast.
So where are the Sixers now? 7th?
Yeah, they're 7th.
They're 7th. Okay.
Still 2.5 behind Chicago for the 10th spot. If you're putting the standings upside down, the right side up way. Chicago actually got a win over Toronto last night.
Chicago plays Indiana tomorrow in Indiana.
There you go.
Toronto plays Orlando, if you're paying attention to them as well. And Portland tomorrow afternoon in Cleveland. And that's important because they played the Sixers on Monday night here. So they'll be playing on the second night of a back-to-back after facing the Cleveland Cavaliers tomorrow afternoon. That's on the NBA TV game. So if you want to check that one out. Also, Utah playing New Orleans, 2 bad teams, 15-44, 16-44 for those 2 tomorrow as well. San Antonio also in action. But the main 2 are going to be Chicago and Indianapolis, also Toronto and Orlando tomorrow. That's part of Tank Watch here on the show as we go forward. And that is Tank Watch, brought to you by no one.
The one thing I will disagree with Super Dope Hip Hop in the chat, the the odds for Cooper Flagg or Dylan Harper don't change if you go from 5 to 8, but the odds for keeping your pick do drop pretty precipitously.
And it's a matter of just, at this point, keeping the pick.
Yes. So the home run option, that's not going to change that much or whatever, but the downside option is a good bit different.
Sure.
If that happens. So, we'll see, but, it is what it is, I'd say.
Yeah.
I had fun watching tonight's game.
It was a fun game.
Yeah.
It was absolutely a fun game. It was an enjoyable game. So, absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. Again, we're going to talk to the guys from the arena, come back, give you the player of the game as well. We'll give you a little bit more on some other things that we saw in the game. Kelly Oubre was really good.
It's good.
Give him a little bit more time and to talk about some of the Steph Curry, man, just at this age, still doing that.
Unbelievable. That was a big
phenomenal
reason why it was fun. You deal with an amazing Steph Curry game. Just blessing to watch that guy poop, man. It's freaking awesome.
Sixers win, snap their 9-game losing streak. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365.
And let's talk about our friends at Ace Hardware Home Services. If you have a leaky pipe at Ace Hardware Home Services, they are around the block with everything that you need to fix it, including now the person to do the fixing. If you have an air conditioning issue, they got a person for that as well. How about a faucet that you said you would fix last year? They got that person too. Because now Ace is not just the helpful hardware folks, they are the helpful home service and repair folks as well. From plumbing to heating and cooling, they've got the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services, they are bringing helpful home, the helpful you love, from the store and now to your front door. And at Ace Hardware Home Services, whenever they get ready for the next job, they know what to bring. They bring experience. They are local plumbers and techs that handle everything from repairs and seasonal maintenance to installations and upgrades. And they bring understanding. They listen to your goals, and the job isn't completed until you, the customer, are satisfied. And we bring helpful to your home so you can spend more of your time on the projects that really matter. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get you started on your next project.
And as Rich was talking about us getting back out there on the floor, helping things out, well, Rothman Orthopedic made it possible for me to do just that. It wasn't that my joints were aching and my hands were cramping, but if you have that, sure, Rothman, simple things like that as well. You can go check them out. They'll take care of that. But I had an ACL and an Achilles, and I desperately wanted to get those fixed as quickly as possible and as easy as the procedure and all that stuff. You want to get that done. But it was also them just making me feel welcome and making me feel like I was one of them, one of their friends, that they just wanted to get back to normal everyday life, but also making sure that I still wanted to play basketball as well. Their mission is high quality, compassionate, and affordable care rooted in research leading to new treatments and better outcomes. Each doc is laser focused on their specialty for hip, spine, for me, knee, and ankle. They have that as well. You name it, they have a doctor for each body part that needs to be addressed. And they're also right here in your backyard, so you can cross over the defense, drain those jump shots, block those shots, and root for your teams like no other fans in the country. Since 1970, their physicians have remained committed to research, innovation, and minimally invasive procedures to get you back to what you specialize in. Year over year, Rothman consistently performs among the highest volume of hip, knee, shoulder, and ankle replacements in the country at over 60,000. And they can do that for you or someone you love if need be. Rothman Orthopedics specialize in orthopedics, and you visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make an appointment today. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365. Sixers win 126-119. Let's get to the player of the game. We've talked about him a bunch, but we want to highlight it once again in the cool graphic that Bree puts together all the time. 44 points, 6 for 9 from 3 steals as well on the defensive end, 75% from the floor because he did go 18 for 24. And Rich, you said he was about 12 for
15.
15 on his twos.
And one of those is at the end. So 12 of 14 when it actually mattered.
Yeah. And the only blemish was that he missed 6 free throws. I hate when guards miss free throws, especially with ones that could shoot the way that he does. But he missed the 6 free throws. In the end, it did not matter. He was fantastic. Quentin Grimes gets his first. This is his first or is his second? Did we give him the Brooklyn Player of the Game? His second? Look at him. He's just jumping ahead of the pack. Outside of Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, he might even have. Paul George has more than him, but everybody else. We thought Kelly, the way things were starting off, that it was going to be a Kelly night, and then Quentin Grimes said, "Nah, I got this one. I need this one." He was phenomenal. That's our player of the game. Player of the game is always on our show. It's presented by Rich.
No one.
All right, Quentin Grimes.
So one other thing that I thought was interesting, because I'm looking at the bench minutes right now. Sixers played 7 guys, 8 guys, pretty heavy minutes, I would say. And really, Justin Edwards gets 16. Jeff Doughton got 14 minutes. Do you find it funny that they signed Jared Butler to the standard NBA contract? And he played pretty good. And I'm not saying that he's like lighting the world on fire in some of these games that he's played, even though the first couple I thought he did play quite well in those games. I'm a little surprised that Jeff Doughton is getting minutes over Jared Butler, considering where we are in this part of the season when, you know, the expectations are low and they're trying to kind of figure out what they have. I feel like we know what we have in Jeff Doughton. That was a small thing. Jeff Doughton actually thought he played pretty well in the first half tonight, but I do think like I'd like to see more of Jared Butler in the actual rotation. And there's been a lot of games where we haven't seen that actually happen.
Well, since Kyle Lowry's out, we know that he likes to go to guys that he trusts, and he trusts Jeff Doughton. He has an affinity for Jeff Doughton,
I guess,
for whatever reason. But I mean, overall, maybe it was the fact that it's the outside shooting that he felt was going to be important tonight against this defense. I don't know what it was, but yeah, I was a little bit surprised, and especially to your point of Jared Butler got the standard contract. Jeff Doughton is still on this 2-way deal, and I don't know how many games he has left, if that matters in his decision-making of how that goes.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. It should not, but he's gone there. I am surprised that Nick Nurse has decided to go that way. Again, maybe it's somebody that he just knows and he trusts. Maybe it's the type of guard that he wants out there with everyone else, where he's a scoring guard in a sense, but he has more of the point guard chops than Jared Butler does. Jared Butler's going out there and he's trying to score the basketball. So maybe he just wants somebody out there to run, make that extra pass, do those types of things a little more unselfishly than Jared Butler is as a player. They're different to me.
Yeah. And come on, Phil. I respect you, Phil. Things turned when Butler threw up 5 minutes of bricks in that Boston game. Phil, the game was over, man. It was a 25-point game at that point in the second half, and Jared Butler hadn't been part of the rotation. Anyway, I agree with you, Phil, in that he was throwing up bricks in that game, and he's been struggling a little bit. I guess I'd just like to see a little bit more. And if he stinks, he stinks.
Because of the evaluation.
Yeah, let's just see it. Let's evaluate at this point of the season. So that's all.
No.
He might not be good. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, look. It's evaluation.
They're saying, X-Man saying that that Doughton is just Nurse's guy. You know, he's like the new Lowry. Maybe that's the case.
X. I mean, that's what I said.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a guy that he trusts. So I'm not surprised, X. Honestly, I mean, it's his guy. He's on this roster because of Nick Nurse, not Daryl Morey. He's on this roster because of Nick Nurse.
Yeah,
and that's just the fact. So yeah, that's his guy. So maybe it's
not something I'm like too worried about, but it is noticeable that Doughton is getting those minutes over Nurse. Mm-hmm. We categorize it now and we notice it, and we'll see if it changes in the next couple of weeks.
Yep, absolutely. So 41 minutes and 44 seconds for Kelly Oubre tonight, 6 for 13. He had 3 threes. They look good. Releasing
threes,
yeah, on the release. Even the ones that he missed didn't look bad. Got to the free throw line 7 times. He made 5 of 7. Defensively, we know who he is. I mean, he has some silly foul. Like, he has a couple, the one Steph Curry foul behind the 3-point line. Kelly Oubre is always going to do those things where we're like, yeah, it's Kelly Oubre doing that thing. But he finished with 20, man. And in the first half, when he and Grimes, specifically looking at the first quarter, he only had 4. He was 1 for 5. Grimes had the 12. Kelly Oubre turned it up when Grimes had 8. He finished with 11. And realizing at that point that Maxey and George were just not good, you needed something from somebody else other than Grimes. He finished with 15 in the first half, where Paul George and Tyrese Maxey combined 1 for 12 for 3 points in the first half. You needed somebody else to elevate their game, and Kelly Oubre did just that, finishing 5 points in the second half, but his 15 in the first half as the Sixers led by 12, helping Quentin Grimes, doing a lot of the dirty work there out there. He did some good things tonight, and as we've talked about him, two-way player, one that has been available all season. So we guys in and out of the lineup, he's been there. He's been available. Kelly Oubre had a good night.
Yeah. So one of the issues with Kelly that I have, and this is not any fault of his own. I mean, he's just not a very good shooter, right? Like when you look at his 3-point numbers, it's hard to be a plus player when you are a wing that just doesn't make threes like that. It was good to see him knock down those shots. Frankly, the threes he takes, Devon, are good shots. You know, you would hope they went in at a higher rate. I certainly have no qualms with his effort and kind of how hard he plays. He brings it every single night in that respect. So it was good to see him finish off some of the Sixers' kind of nice passing sequences tonight. He made those threes. Felt like the Warriors left him open on a couple of those too. They were very aggressive in their help, at the nail. They had Draymond on him as a roamer for a lot of today's game. He actually scored a couple buckets attacking Draymond, even with Draymond backed up. So yeah, good Kelly game tonight. And it's the theme of the game is that 2-15, the Sixers just absolutely smoked the Warriors tonight. Yeah. Steph Curry was unbelievable, and it was turned back the clock. It felt like we were back in 2016 MVP Steph Curry mode tonight, and the Sixers really didn't have a lot for him. And it's, by the way, I'm not even criticizing him for that because it's hard to have a lot for him when he has it cooking and he has his outlets and he's making those good passes. But the rest of the team, the Sixers were just so much better tonight. They did a great job.
Yeah, they really did. They really did. Real fast, I want to get this before we get to Kyle joining here. I had somebody, Kamel Emmanuel, our friend Kamel asks, what do you guys think of Jalen Hood-Schifino? Just because Kamel wasn't in the pregame, he signs to the two-way contract. They move on from David Roddy. Wanted to ask that because you gave your assessment, but that was in the pregame.
Yeah, I mean, he's, a swingman type player that didn't do a lot with the Lakers. I think he was supposed to be sort of a 3-and-D type guy. I would hope that the Sixers give him a shot in the next couple weeks because we're at the point where let's watch everybody, right? Let's see what we have from all of the players. My expectations aren't too high, Kamel, to be honest with you. He was unable to latch on with the Lakers team that does not have a ton of depth. I know a lot of their fans were a little bit frustrated with him, especially with where he was drafted. There were good players that were picked around him. But yeah, let's give it a shot, right?
Yeah, and you said it was Utah, I think, that released him.
Yeah,
it's tough because Utah could use some guard help. They're always looking for young guards, and for him not to stick there, that's a little troubling too in the assessment of him. But we'll see. Give him a shot.
You know who's playing for Utah right now?
Isaiah Collier's playing a lot.
Sure. And he's playing a little bit better. He struggled a lot at the beginning of the year, but he's playing. And that is exactly what I'm talking about with the Sixers. Let's see what we have. Yep. No, I'm talking about KJ Martin is playing with Utah now. Had a pretty sick dunk. They beat the Wolves the other night.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
KJ.
Forgot about that.
The return.
Forgot about that. All right. About a week. Good for KJ. Good for the Sixers. Maybe not. Well, we'll find out from Kyle as we check in with him live from the arena to get his thoughts on the Sixers snapping their 9-game losing streak. Thumbs up on the win, but even more thumbs up, Kyle. We'll get into the whole seeding and all of that stuff with the play-in and with all these games left. But, I mean, for him to, looking at the struggles of Maxey and Paul George specifically through the first 3 quarters, Maxey the entire game. But for Quentin Grimes, man, we talked about it after 30-point performance, giving him his shine after we laid into Paul George for his 2 points. But when he dropped that 30 on Brooklyn, we said, this is the kind of thing that we can expect, some scoring from this guy. He took that up another notch tonight to guide his team to the win tonight.
Yeah, and Devon, it was one of those games where I think when he hit like his first 4 shots or whatever, you're like, oh, this could be just a nuclear heater, right? Like sometimes you just see a guy early in the game, he makes a layup, he makes a short mid-range, he hits a pull-up 3, and it's like, when is this going to end? And it never did until you put him at the free throw line and he inexplicably missed as many free throws as he missed shots. Right. Like that's honestly, it's one of the craziest stat lines I think I've ever seen, right? He's 18 of 24 from the field, 2 of 8 from the free throw line. I can't even wrap my mind around that, but I don't mean to dwell or, bring up the negative part of it. it's everything you want in a two guard, right? A guy who he scored as a slasher, scored as a pull-up shooter, scored as a catch and shoot guy. He scored off his own dribble in transition. He scored leaking out on outlet passes and hit aheads. It's just a guy who was completely comfortable no matter what they asked him to do offensively, scored in a variety of ways. And I just, it probably doesn't help their case to get a team friendly deal in the offseason, right? He's going to, his agent, any agent worth their salt is going to take the highlights of that game and say, you better pay me or I'm going to find somebody who will. But it's good problem to have. 24-year-old guy that is a restricted free agent. And it's I'm sure we'll probably get into the, do you feel good about the win or do you feel bad about the tanking stuff? And when it's a guy who I think you want to be a future important member of the team, not just member of the team, but important member of the team, it's a little easier to swallow whatever implications it has on the draft positioning.
Kyle, I don't really know where to go next. I mean, the thing I've been telling Devon is that outside of Maxey, whose hand is bothering him, he's struggling to shoot. It just felt like if you pair up Maxey and Steph, okay, Steph played great. Maxey really struggled to shoot. But the rest of the team, it just felt like the Sixers really kicked their butts tonight.
Yeah, honestly, my takeaway watching that game was, boy, without Jimmy Butler, this Warriors team is kind of just, I won't use the words I want to use because it's a family-friendly show around here, but they ain't that good. And I honestly, I finally am in the mind of a Warriors fan that you see all throughout the season. They're like, get Steph some help, and blah, blah, blah. And like you see it on TV, right, where he has these good games and they lose. And surely these guys aren't that bad. And then like you watch him tonight, he as an in-person experience, Steph Curry, is just unbelievable, right? Like the pull-up threes and watching 2 and 3 guys sprint at him, and then he hits a guy wide open on a cut, and it's just incredible. So for his sake, I'm so glad that they went and got Jimmy Butler. I wish he would have played tonight so I could have seen the full strength version or close to full strength version of this team. But yeah, to your point, Rich, I think to a man, they basically outplayed these guys most of the night. They got decent minutes from Drummond, right? Like good offensive rebounding. He's moving around a little better. He actually played up at the level on some ball screens and showed Steph some size, which that was nice when we saw that. Yabu comes in off the bench, hits a bunch of threes. That was a big thing. Kelly Oubre playing hard as he has all throughout the season. Gershon actually was at the podium and made sure to say that about Kelly. Like he just brings it every single night. And so lots of encouraging performances. And I think you could certainly feel the mood lift a little bit in that locker room and from guys talking tonight, because it has been tough sledding for these guys last few weeks.
Yeah, and to kind of go back to as we get to Maxey and his struggles and all, when you look at the struggling that he had, he wasn't really aggressive looking for a shot early and go scoreless in the first half. But a lot of times, as you know, you and Rich both know that when guys are limited because of, let's say, an injury, they will say to their guys, hey, I don't have it tonight. I'm out here. I'm a decoy in a sense. And Grimes, get your shots and get things going there. And that's what it kind of seemed like. He had the 11 assists tonight, and Maxey struggled overall. But it was one of those where, yes, he's deferring. We know why. But also, just for where they were, what they need, Grimes going off the way that he did, that's also the type of leadership that we've talked about that has been missing on this team when they need to close out these close wins.
Yeah, so I think there are two ways to look at it. I do think that there was a complete lack of aggression from him all throughout that game. And I think you can look at the hand or the finger injury, however you want to designate that, and say, you can see that he just doesn't really want to shoot the ball all that much right now. Because it was one thing when they sent 2 and they're trying to trap him and get the ball out of his hands. But there are times when he's got one-on-one matchups with guys that we all know, watching the Warriors, he can go by or he can score against, or he can at least create a collapsing defense, and just never really made the attempt. So that's a little bit concerning, even as the Sixers downplay the injury. Now, on the other side of it, I agree with you, Devon. He did look for Grimes a lot, right? Like and Nick Nurse sat at the podium and credited Tyrese and said, we got into good stuff late in the game. And part of that was Tyrese recognizing what was developing or what was working and getting us into stuff and making sure Quentin got the ball and just doing, little small things like that. So, yeah, I would say I was not encouraged by the performance overall because of the implications with the hand, but I do think it shows a level of maturity that he's able to say, hey, look, I don't have it, but it's not going to stop me from, ruining other guys' momentum or trying to just hijack the offense and take bad shots on my own.
Kyle, last one for me. It doesn't have anything to do with the Sixers. Those replay reviews down the stretch, man, were there was something all right.
I am at the point with the NBA's replay review. I'd rather just throw it in the trash and not have replay at all.
Yeah.
I genuinely think it takes away from the product. It was even, and if you remember, Rich, there was a moment earlier in the game where they didn't have a review, but they spent like 2 or 3 minutes standing at the scorer's table debating whether they were, I think, going to give a review to the Sixers on, who was it? There was some kind of foul. Steph got fouled on a 3, I believe, and the Sixers late in the process wanted to challenge it and didn't get it in, and then they were just like, they started playing the damn Jeopardy music over the loudspeaker, the Final Jeopardy, do 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 do. Sure. It's like, that's how ridiculous the replay system is in the NBA. They got to figure out a better way to handle it, because I just can't take the 5 to 10 minutes of stoppages we get in crunch time. Enough.
There's a lot. Yeah.
All right, man, it's a late one for us tonight, so we're going to get you out of here. Make sure you all go read Kyle's recap at allphly.com. Go check it out. Go sign up. Become a diehard member. Take advantage of the $48 sign up for the first year, so you can enjoy all the writing there from Kyle, Derek, Rich on this daily newsletter as well. Kyle, thanks, man. We will see you on Monday for the Sixers and the Blazers. Blazers on the second night of a back-to-back, so we'll see how that one plays out. We'll see you then, man.
They've been pretty good. And by the way, I have one quick question before I go. What has the general consensus been in the chat? Are they angry about the win, or are they just happy to see something good happen to this team?
It's pretty mixed.
Bit of both.
Yeah, pretty mixed. Yeah, especially with Brooklyn losing. And Brooklyn losing, who was the other one that we said that lost tonight?
Brooklyn jumped ahead of them in the race to the bottom. So they lost. Yeah, it's a little bit of a team chill versus team want to lose situation. We're
man,
back there.
Rich, we are back. I would just say this to close it out. Yeah, obviously we all know what the stakes are for the rest of the season, but you can't get mad when guys compete and play hard and try to win, right? Like it's just not a thing that's worth getting upset over. We can criticize these guys when they stink it up and don't play defense or whatever, but they're professionals who want to win. They go out and win. It's tough and it doesn't help the tank, but they're doing their job. So that's all. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. I also think too that there's probably something to breaking the losing streak and just like, keeping that locker room, keeping people sane, because if they continue to lose, man, if it gets to 15, 16, 17 games, then things can spiral. So I guess you got to hope that you'll have a peaceful losing locker room over these next couple of weeks. But no, completely agree with what you said, man. All
right, fellas, get home safe. See you Monday.
Thanks, man. You too. Appreciate it. Kyle Neubeck joining us live from the arena following the Sixers win, 126-119. Nothing all that earth-shattering coming out of that, but always good to get Kyle's perspective following the game. A little bit of a sour note pregame that we weren't able to talk about, but we want to bring it up now because we're off tomorrow, so we need to address this now. But Shams Charania of ESPN, Rich knows him well. We all know he's a great reporter, newsbreaker, gets the inside information that needs to be that needs to be shared. And he had something a little troubling, disturbing about the 76ers and their situation going on with Joel Embiid. So on their pregame show, he was talking to Malika Andrews. And if you're ready, he laid out what has happened with Joel Embiid, speaking to owner Josh Harris and about his situation, about where he is physically, about what he wants to do. If you have not heard it, it's about 60 seconds long. So just sit here for a minute for us, hang out with us, and listen to Shams Charania and his report on the Sixers, Joel Embiid, and their ownership.
This all came to a head over the last couple of weeks, specifically when I'm told Joel Embiid went directly to 76ers owner Josh Harris about the state of his knee and about where the realization he's at with what's in the best interest of him, the organization, as far as a potential shutdown. Because remember, Josh Harris owes Joel Embiid up to $300 million over the next 5 seasons. So the backdrop to all this is that over the last month, we've seen fundamental differences between Joel Embiid and the 76ers as far as Embiid believing that he needs a different treatment approach for this versus the 76ers feeling you play on it, get in better condition, and you could continue on this year. This has been a situation the 76ers have been dealing with all season, and they've managed the swelling in multiple different ways, including injections monthly, just to get him on the court. But here they are in lockstep. This is all about getting Joel Embiid back on the court in the best sustainable way, and they are in lockstep about that. Malika, this all came to a head.
So that was from the tweet was from, and we appreciate it. Oh no, he didn't on Twitter.
Oh no, he didn't.
No, he didn't. But your thoughts on that, Rich, as you hear all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the big themes of this season so far, Devon, is that Joel Embiid and this front office, this organization, just whatever, they're not on the same page on how to deal with his injury. And him going kind of beyond the organization, going around them to Josh Harris to discuss this doesn't speak that well about them being in lockstep. I know Shams said at the very end that they are in lockstep now, but it feels like they haven't been in lockstep for a lot of the year. Now, does that mean anything for what happens in the offseason? You know, does the GM, is he in trouble? I don't know. But if the GM were in trouble and they were going to write the obituary story like you would see in The Athletic, right? You would see the postmortem of the somebody Sixers era. They might include that detail in there. So do I know it means anything? No. But yeah, it's something that certainly your ears perk up a little bit and say that's not that normal.
Yeah, that's tough, and that would of course be blown up a little bit more tonight had they lost this game. Yeah. They snapped their losing streak, so things go well. It will be discussed, but it may die down, tone it down just a little bit following a win versus a loss, because that's not good. It's good to see Embiid on the bench. I hope he continues to show up on the bench and support his team the way that he did. And we'll see how that goes, but not great news.
In fairness, though, we kind of knew this already because of Daryl's public comments at the press conference a few weeks ago, talking about how he thought, and it's exactly what Shams said in that hit at the beginning, where he thought you play through this injury, it'll get better, you get better condition, your knee starts to adapt to it, and Joel fundamentally doesn't feel that way, which is what he told Lisa Salters a couple weeks ago as well. So it is something we kind of knew already. But yeah, it's I think there is probably more of a story there. And I don't know what the right answer is. I'm not saying either one of them is right or wrong in this case, Devon. But yeah, them not being on the same page, that's probably not a good thing.
It's a theme that's been there all season, as we've talked about. The messaging. Whether we've liked it as it came out, the things that they did tell us and we didn't like how they were handling it, or simply hearing that two of your most important people are not on the same page as to how things should go for the remainder of the season. So that is troubling, something that I'm sure will revisit and resurface.
If something big happens this offseason, if there is like a shocking firing or trade or whatever, and it involves Joel Embiid, I think that might be something we revisit. And I think that's something that whether it's Kyle or somebody else will probably get more reporting on. But for now, let's just put it in our back pocket, right? It was certainly strange to hear it, and we'll move on.
Yep. All right. We have one more super chat, Bree. Citizen X, I think it was. Yes, Citizen X saying that impartial Knicks fan here. What up, Citizen X? Is it true Grimes wants to be back home and play for the Knicks again?
That's the most polite Knicks fan we've ever had. Polite and gave us some money for the super chat.
Thank
as
you,
well.
Citizen.
Thank you, Citizen. I don't know if that's true.
I don't know that either. I think
the Sixers are going to try and keep him, Citizen.
Yeah, Yeah, and they have the ability to do so.
He's a restricted free agent.
Yep, absolutely. So, but thank you for the question, Citizens X. We
Appreciate
appreciate
you.
it. Yeah, and thanks everybody again for make sure you sign up to become a diehard member. Take advantage of the $48 deal right now. $4 a month. Your first year is $48. You can't beat that. For all the stories written there, Rich's daily newsletter. You get Kyle, again, his post-game recap and other stories like the Joel Embiid news dropping on Friday. Kyle had a piece ready to go. Derek wrote about the Sixers defense, especially when Joel Embiid is off the floor, plus when he's on the floor, how it wasn't all that great. Eagles, Phillies, and Flyers, all of that at allphly.com. And you get a free shirt, so make sure you go sign up. All right, let's get to the world-famous roll call to wrap up the week for us. Our last show, we're off on Sunday, back Monday and Tuesday for games. We got to say thank you. Number one, can we say thank you to all our super chatters out there, Citizen X, Riaz, and Super Dope Hip Hop for the super chats. We appreciate it. You better love somebody to love somebody to love somebody. We saw you in there. Yams, Igavini. What up, Igavini? Fusion, Phi Chi, Rich P, what up? Bucket Getter 215. You and Quentin Grimes must be related because he was getting buckets tonight in the 215. Mellow 3-point. Kyle Wright. Saw Winona in there, Kamel hanging in. MBD with a super chat in the pregame show. We appreciate it, MBD. Jeannie, Winona, as always, as we just mentioned, as well. Julian, Davon, Al, Mac, Jeannie, Phil Evans, Alden Network, Ken Gibson, Nick, saw you in there. Yo Q PHL. What up, Yo Q? Julius Boots kicking it with us tonight. MPTR, Randy, Flavio, Joaquin. What up, Joaquin from Cherry Hill? Yams, Kyle O, Mr. Sandman, Bring Me a Dream. See Jess in there. Also, Fred Carter, Hookah Doncic. Did you know that was one of our chatters?
I saw.
Hookah Doncic in there. Wawa Marvel. We already mentioned Boots. Hey, Aaron. What up, Aaron? Val. What up, X? We saw you in there, X. Prophet One, SB Cole, Theo, Remo K, Randy, PHLY Guy, Jeff Sal, MGJ Tay, Bernard McCoy, and Tom Jackson. Everybody, thank you. Make sure you go like and subscribe to the show. Tell somebody to tell somebody to tell somebody else to like, subscribe to the show. Hit the bell icon so you can get the alerts. And when you do, it's going to sound like that. Showtime. John Peace. What up, Peace? That'll set us up nicely to say thank you to super producer Bree. She's fantastic. She is the best as always.
As always.
Glad she has a Sunday off. We'll all be back on Monday, the three of us, the trio, as we get ready for the Sixers and the Blazers. 7 o'clock tip time, 6:30 pregame for us. Everybody have a good rest of your night. Enjoy your Sunday. Sorry it's going to be a little chilly tomorrow. It was nice and warm today. Enjoy the weather. Enjoy your Sunday. We'll be back with you 6:30 for Sixers Blazers. Maybe Quentin Grimes will go off again. I don't know. But we'll be here to talk about it, previewing the game on Monday. Have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you. And our show, as always, presented by Bet365.
We all silly like the mayor.